Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. Happy Juneteenth. I guess the day this comes out is June 21st, which I believe is the first day of summer. So you got Father's Day, Juneteenth, first day of summer, all landing right now, baby. Longest day of the year. That was always the joke that black people made about Black History Month is why has it got to be the shortest month of the year? Well, here's the longest day of the year for Juneteenth. Big celebration in my neighborhood. There's a park that had a Juneteenth celebration yesterday. It was colorful and amazing and loud and fun. And it was Father's Day. So my family hoisted me up on their arms, on their shoulders and their arms, and gave me a very nice Father's Day. I got breakfast in bed, which was avocado toast with fried eggs and red chili flakes, just the way I like it. And then some presents, a grill scraper, which is like such a hacky Father's Day gift. But I guess it was a hint that the grill needs to be scraped. And then they sent me off to get a massage at a place that I'd never heard of in Marina Del Rey. And I went down. And the woman, the masseuse, seemed very nice, a little bit on in the years, a little bit up in the weight. And she starts the massage. And she tells me to keep my underwear on, which I don't like that. I want you to get on that ass deep. I want deep, oily, round circles on my buttocks. That's where all the fucking pain is. That's where all the stress is. Get it out. What am I wearing underwear for? What are we doing here? What are we afraid of? I'm not going to do anything. Just get on that ass. So she starts by getting up on the table and she starts walking on the backs of my legs. And I'm like, sweetie, that ship sailed. You are $160. Easy. And fingers like a dock worker, like calloused, dry, not enjoyable fingers at all. And then she walks on my back, and I swear to God, I was fucking... And the thing is, you don't want to feel like a pussy when you're getting a massage. You want to feel like a man. And so even though I was in pain, I was like... I think my fists were clenched and my toes were curled back, and I was going like, fucking, take it. Take it for the USA. And I didn't say anything. And she kept walking. And then whatever, halfway through, she goes, okay, turn over. And I go to turn over, and I can't. My back is in so much fucking pain that I have to go on my side for a little while. And she starts laughing. She does this little fucking laugh like it's silly that I now have back pain when I'm supposed to make me feel good. And so rolled over, and then it was not good. It was not a good massage, but it was still a good day. We went down to the beach at sunset. Owen's in Cuba, but Jojo and Aaron and I walked down to the beach, Venice Beach on a Sunday, which is so beautiful. Sun's going down. There's like all the Latino families, they don't leave the beach. That's the thing about the Latino families. White people go first. Latinos are the last ones there. It could be dark out. Those kids are still in that fucking water. It could be 50 degrees. They are still in that water. They love it. And then we walked past the drum circle. Venice has a famous drum circle on Sunday nights that starts about an hour before sunset, and it is the most Venice event. It's just a bunch of people that show up with bongo drums and cowbells, and some people show up with proper like drum kits, like a snare drum and a tom-tom and all different kinds. A couple of people have flutes, but it's really just percussion. And they get a beat going, and they all jump in, and then all these Venetians, these people that you always look at them and you go like, I'm not sure if you're homeless. You look like you got one leg out the door. You're definitely on couches. A percentage of the time you're on couches, but you're not homeless yet. but they are dancing like it's a dead show, and beautiful people, diversity, young, old, some tourists jump in. And as we're watching that, the sun's setting on the mountains, and then on Sunday night also in Venice, they have a bike parade where people put like day glow sticks and flags and all kinds of shit on their bikes, and like literally like 100 bikes come down the boardwalk in the backdrop of the drum circle and the sunset and the murals on the buildings. I was just in love with Venice, as I often am. It's just such an amazing vibe. It's so unique, and it's so joyful and colorful and interesting. Ran into a bunch of friends. It was great. It was great. And we had a party the night before on Saturday night. Not a party. We had a couple people over. It was a dinner party. What am I saying, a party? What am I? Fucking no. We had 4 people over for dinner. Is that a party? That's just dinner. We had a nice time, and JoJo was, I have to say, my daughter is really coming into her own as an adult. She's 18. She'll be 19 in a couple weeks. And I'm just so proud of how she can sit with adults and hold a conversation. And they ask her questions because, we're sitting there talking politics, and then, they're curious what a 19-year-old thinks about all of this. And she really had interesting things to say. And I was just like, her poise and her confidence, it's like it's taken a turn in the last year, which is really nice to see. So that was good. And then we heard from Owen. He's in Cuba. He did this thing last semester where they studied Afro-Cuban poetry and culture and architecture. And then they went on this trip, 12 students, 2 professors. And the professors are, one's Cuban, one's Puerto Rican. And they are very esteemed in cultural literature. And they lined up all these lectures, tours of museums. And so it's 2 weeks of just nonstop. They're on a bus. They're going from place to place. And at night, they're dancing salsa in the streets and drinking mojitos and smoking cigars. And Owen was telling us about how any stranger you go up to on the street and you ask a question, they'll give you like 45 minutes of their time. They'll show you around. And he's fluent in Spanish because he's been in Spanish immersion since he was in kindergarten, and it's his minor. And so he's like, Dad, I knew my Spanish was good because I was making people laugh in Spanish in Cuba. And he's just super adventurous. He's jumping in taxis and going out to clubs, and went running in the mornings, and he's just loving it. And he started telling us about this religion that they have in Cuba. I think it was called like Yoruba or something like that. And he's very taken by this religion. It's like an African-based spirituality that's based on attraction and I guess male and like mother and father figures. And he got kind of teared up. He's like very moved by the people in Cuba and their spirits. He's like, it's like no place I've ever been in my life. He said, I think it's a place he's going to spend a lot of time in his life. He just fell in love with it. So I'm happy about that. I was trying to hook him up with Joey Diaz's cousin, but Joey, I called Joey and he's supposed to call me back, and Joey can be a little flaky on the callbacks. I also spent the day watching U.S. Open golf, which they time for Father's Day. The final day of the U.S. Open golf is always on Sunday, Father's Day. And the exciting thing is this year, I think I've probably mentioned on the podcast, but I have a cousin named Denny McCarthy. He's my first cousin's son, and he is a professional golfer. He's been on the tour for about 5 years. He's not a big dude. He's about 5'9", $150, $160. So he doesn't hit the ball that far, but he is the 5th ranked putter on the professional golfing tour. He's an amazing putter, and he came in 7th in the U.S. Open yesterday. So I was glued to the TV. I had there's a PGA app, which is amazing, where you can pick a player you want to follow, and they will literally show you that player's entire round. That's how many cameras they have set up at the U.S. Open. And so I'm on the phone, I'm watching him, and then I'm watching it on the big screen, and it was so exciting. At one point, he was making a run for the lead in the last 9 holes. He's played amazing. So we're really proud of him. Keep your eye out for this kid, Denny McCarthy. Put him in your pools. I'm actually playing tomorrow. I like playing golf right after I watch golf on TV. So I'm playing, going out with Andrew Santino tomorrow. And apparently I heard he's like a 3 or 4 handicap, which is hard to believe that he's good at something. But I'm going to find out tomorrow, probably the hard way, probably through my wallet. I don't know where we're playing. I got to find out. And then on Thursday, so if you get this, if you listen to this podcast in the first couple of days, then it'll be, June 23rd. I will be moderating a book talk with Tom Segura. He's got a new book out called Can You Please Leave Me Alone, or something like that. It's a great book. Just read it this week. So we're gonna be at the John Adams Middle School auditorium. You can get tickets at his site or wherever. I don't know. Just search it. That should be fun. And I think that's it. Let's get into the podcast. I got a note from somebody. Just to update you guys, I was doing mushroom microdoses for a couple weeks. I've since stopped. I don't think it was working for me. I felt agitated, and I've since gotten a lot of emails from people saying you got to take vitamin D while you're doing it. That's what this guy Jim says. And that if you're on SSRIs, then it doesn't work with the antidepressants. But I'm not on SSRIs. So I don't know. Anybody else? Email me with your experiences if you've microdosed on mushrooms or acid. Some people are saying LSD microdoses are the way to go. Is that the new thing? I don't know. But I will tell you this. If you've ever browsed and you put on incognito mode thinking you're stealthy and that's going to get you around all the spam and all that crap, think again. Chances are the browser you're using has made its fortune by tracking your movements online. Big tech companies are taking all your data. Incognito does not mean invisible. So you need ExpressVPN. Turns out one of the data points is your IP address. Data harvesters use your IP to uniquely identify you and your location. But with ExpressVPN, your connection gets rerouted through an encrypted server and your IP address is masked. Every time you connect to ExpressVPN, you get a random IP address shared by many other ExpressVPN customers. That makes it harder for third parties to identify you or harvest your data. Best of all, ExpressVPN is super easy to use no matter what device you're on, phone, laptop, smart TV. All you got to do is tap one button, instant protection. So, if you really want to go incognito and protect your privacy, secure yourself with the #1 rated VPN. Visit expressvpn.com/Fitzdog and get 3 extra months for free. That's expressvpn.com/Fitzdog. Go to expressvpn.com/Fitzdog to learn more. Okay. Also, don't forget, premium memberships are available on my website, Fitzdog.com. Get 950 back episodes. Also, the T-shirts, the Fitzsimmons T-shirts are there. My guest today is a guy who's a great comic. He's real tight with Bill Burr. They do a podcast today together called Anything Better. He's also got his own podcast called the Virzi Effect. And he's got a new special out. We're going to talk about that. He's had specials in the past. Super good guy, great comic. Here's my chat with Paul Virzi. Hey, what's up? It's Paul Virzi. How are you?
What's up, dude? How are you? Thanks for having me. Well, let me tell you something. I just saw your new special, and is it out? I don't think it's even out yet. I think it's coming out tomorrow.
No, it comes out in 2 days.
Okay. On the 22nd?
On the 20th. On the 23rd. It comes out on the 23rd.
23rd. Okay.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. It's on Netflix, and it's just great. It's a guy who has pounded this material out on the road for a while. It's great. And you talk about COVID, but you don't bore us with it. Some people, it's like, okay, touch on it, move on.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because as time went on after we shot it, I was going, look, and I made sure I actually timed it. I talk about COVID. The special's an hour and 4 minutes, and I talk about COVID for 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's about right.
And that's it. And it's like, you get in, you get out, you hit a couple of bullet points, and then I just wanted to get to my jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I liked, I really liked it. It was great.
It means a lot, man. Thank you.
Yeah. And this is your second special?
Yes. Second special, third hour. I did an album, but I did a Comedy Central special in 2018, and then this is the second one.
Right. And you say you're not gay.
I'm not gay.
You're not gay. Okay. So you're married now, a couple kids?
You went into that like such a serious question. I was like, what? That's fucking hilarious. I am married. Yeah, I have 2 kids. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
I think we have the same split. Like I have a son who's 3 years older than my daughter.
Okay. Yes, we're they're 3 years apart. It's
kind of interesting because boys really are so much less mature that they almost match up at those ages,
That's so perfect, because my little girl's 10, he's 13. She can handle everything. She can cook for herself. She's got my son, it's so funny. He's just he's super smart in school, and he's super well-rounded. My son has been running the table, and I give him I'm Italian and Greek, so there's a lot of cash rewards in my house.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good way to go.
I bribe with just straight cash. He loves sneakers. He loves buying shit.
Yeah.
So I go, look, buddy, you made honor roll you made honor roll the first time you were in 6th grade, which was middle school.
Yeah.
And now he's about to be in 8th grade after this semester, and he's hit honor roll and high honor roll every single time. So 8 times. My son is running the table. So now he's getting big cash prizes, Greg. I mean,
what kind of cash are you giving him?
Well, we started out hey man, if you get it this year, you get 150, but he's up to he's getting 300 cash.
Get the fuck out of here.
I swear to God, I'm at the mall buying this kid Jordans every other month. My wife is like, you got to stop. He's smart.
Everything I've read about modern parenting goes and flies in the face of that kind of rewarding them for grades.
Oh, dude, I got a great one for you. And everybody in our community and neighborhood knows this. This is 1,000% true. And I didn't even plan to tell you until you just said that. So my daughter just turned 10. When she was 9 in 4th grade, she goes, I want an iPhone. She goes, I want an iPhone. And me and her mother go, you're not getting an iPhone until you finish 5th grade. You're only in 4th grade. You're not getting one. My daughter's soccer team stunk. They lost every game, and not only did they lose every game of the season, but they think they had 1 or 2 goals the entire season. And we're traveling. We're traveling an hour south. This is like a travel team.
Yeah.
And they're just 9 o'clock getting coffee, getting up at 7, and they're losing every game.
Right.
So my daughter's on the couch with my wife, and I go, all right, Sophia, here's the deal. You guys lost every game, and I think you guys have 1 or 2 goals the entire season. Tomorrow's the last game of the season. I go, you score a goal tomorrow. I go, I'll get you the iPhone 11 or 12, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And dude, we wake up at 6 a.m. to be at the field by 7:30. All the kids are dragging ass. My daughter's barely running, and she's one of the best ones on the team. She's barely running in the first half. Halftime comes, we're looking at her like, dude, the second half starts. She ends up getting it past this person running. It's her and the goalie. She lofts it over the goalie's head. It goes in. The place erupts. All the parents knew.
Get out of here.
Dude, she grabbed her head like this, shook it like this, pointed over and said iPhone 11, and every parent erupted. And now other parents are going, dude, all the girls are asking us now. I started this thing where the other little girls are going like, hey, Sophia's dad can I get an iPad?
Yeah, right. And truly, they are saying that the best way to parent is to not give awards, to let them do it for the process and to learn to feel good about themselves without you bribing them in some capitalist consumer way.
Well, I will tell you, that's true, but I will tell you, I had no idea. They were so bad, I didn't think it was going to happen.
That's hilarious. You guys should get sponsored by Apple.
We should.
It's called the Last to First campaign. My son was on a team that was the same thing, completely defeated, didn't win a single fucking game. Same thing. They scored like 2 goals. So, but they really developed, they brought in a couple new kids. They had a good coach. And the next year, I just remember it was like the 3rd or 4th game in the season and we hadn't scored a goal and we were down like 9-0 in the second half. And all of a sudden one of our kids accidentally scores a goal and the parents were losing their shit, jumping up and down, high-fiving and screaming. And the other team's parents are looking at us like, it's 9-1, right? You're like, no, this is.
It meant so much. It meant so much. Yeah, that's so great.
But they turned it around. They ended up, over the next 3 years, they turned it around and they were undefeated when he was a senior.
Oh, wow. So how old are your kids?
21 and 18.
Okay, so you have a senior now or no, graduated?
No, she's a freshman in college.
Oh, okay.
She just finished freshman year, yeah. And he'll be a senior this coming year in college.
I feel like being a parent of a boy and a girl, having one of each. At first I was like, I did the typical, because I have a brother. So it's just, and I was like, oh, it'll be good to have it. But dude, having one of each, I really love, man. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I know. I feel sorry for people that like get all girls or all boys, because it really does they sort of have their own energy then. It becomes a male or a female household as opposed to like a good mix. And what does your wife do? She works?
So my wife worked for a company that she was the head of a client services department of a company that dealt with mutual bonds.
And financial world.
And so she would they would do these mutual bonds for all kinds of commercial projects and stuff. And she worked in Stamford, Connecticut, and now she gets to work from home. She works from home still.
Nice.
And it's kind of like it's just an easier thing. She wakes up, goes downstairs, does her day, and the company decided across the board that that's what they're going to do. So she's like, yeah, let's do it. So
no one's going back to offices anymore. They're realizing they don't have to spend the rent on that shit. Are you kidding me? Do you know how much money they are saving by doing that?
And those egomaniac Monday morning meetings, where the guy just wants to come in with his coffee and start yelling at people. That's over, dude.
Right. With all the corporate speak, we got to hit the back end numbers this month. And if you're not hit your quota, and it's like, now it's like you're home and you're getting more work done because you're not commuting and you're realizing if I finish this now, I can go play catch with my son or whatever. You can use your time the way, to be the most productive.
I said this on stage the other night. If you didn't improve your life after the last 2 years, you're just never going to get it. If you didn't look at the world and go, oh shit, we were kind of on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And now, there are little improvements and adjustments that we could make to make our lives better. You would never get it.
What did you learn about yourself during the pandemic?
Man, that's a great question. I learned that things that I thought mattered don't. And I learned that running out on a Tuesday night to go do a $25 spot and leave my dinner table with my kids to go appease a booker who's never been on stage once in their fucking life. It makes zero sense. And I realized that I can be off stage for 5 months and then go somewhere and get back on. And after a couple jokes, get back. And then that really made me pick and choose when I do spots, Greg, when I go to the city. Now I'm just like, I love being with my children, and I love being home. I love being a dad because I'm a kid, dude. I love the other day for my son's birthday, I took him and 4 of his friends. It was me and 5 13-year-old boys at Yankee Stadium. And it was like,
oh, that's awesome.
And it was, dude, and I loved it. I love taking them to the arcade. So those things, because I never want to be the dad. I don't want my kids to go, yeah, my dad was cool growing up when he was there. I never want that.
Right.
You know?
Right. That was my dad. I think we had similar dads because both my parents grew up in the Bronx also. And my father was the Irish version of your Sicilian dad. He was he drove a Lincoln Town car. He had the pinky ring. You know, they were like kind of mafia wannabes, you know, like they had all the, you know, and the power stuff. Like, I love your description of your dad. I think it's my favorite part of your special is you talking about your dad.
Yeah, he really is that, you know, and I think those guys that grew up in the Bronx in the 60s, there was just that vibe of like nice shoes, good watches,
right? Just
like, you know, it was very important to them. But the Irish too, they hung out. The Irish you grew up Irish Catholic?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So you guys and the Italians in the Bronx were all very similar in a way.
Yeah, their neighborhoods were Irish and Italian, and you know, it was like there's a loyalty I think that both cultures share. There's like it's all about family. It's all about friendship, loyalty, ball busting. You know, there's just a lot of common traits. What kind of car did your father drive?
My father drove in 1982. He had a brand new Jaguar XJ6, black with white leather. And my father actually, I was talking about this to the Michael O'Brien, actually, about the trajectory of my life changed when they got divorced because my parents were together living in a Tudor in like Scarsdale, Eastchester area, amazing schools. My father was like a big wig at AIG in Manhattan. He was like number 3 or 4 at AIG. They were looking to buy a house and a boat. The house was like $900,000 in 82. Yeah. The house probably now is like four. And then, dude, they got divorced. It was brutal. I was 5. Christian, my older brother Christian was 10. We lived with my mom in this small apartment. My dad went off and got, you know, some apartment close to us and visited us, and everything just changed. And then I was moving. So I would maybe with my humor and stories try to get acceptance, you know, do that, right. You know, watch Paulie do that Eddie Murphy impression. Yeah. And that was kind of my thing. So I'm wondering, had they not, and they got the boat and they kept this castle and I went to the schools. Would I be, you know, not sitting here now? Would I be some financial guy? Who knows? Did
he get rid of the Jaguar XJ6 after the divorce?
No, he had the Jaguar for a while, and then he actually ended up giving it to I'll never forget. He gave it to my brother Christian, but refused to do anything with it. So he's like, no, I'm giving you a car. Your mother's got to, anything that goes wrong, your mother's got to pay. You know, it was
Jaguars are notoriously expensive and they break down a lot,
especially the ones in the 80s.
Yep.
So my brother would like drive this thing to high school with all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
You know,
dude, I was a parking lot attendant at a country club in White Plains in the 80s. And
wow,
the XJ6, man, there was a couple people that came, Mrs. Fischetti, she had a red XJ6 and that thing fucking hummed. Those things were sweet.
Dude, it's so weird that like me and you kind of in a weird way, like even though you're like a little older, but you grew up kind of like going to Westchester, your parents from the Bronx, right?
Yep. What town did you grow up in? Eastchester?
Well, so I was born in Yonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were born in Yonkers. We stayed there for a little while, and then when they were like, I guess, saving up, and then they got the house right on the border of Scarsdale and Eastchester. It was a Tudor, and then when they got divorced, me and my brother and my mom, we kind of hopped around. Always stayed in the Westchester area, but kind of hopped around a little bit. And my dad settled down in White Plains.
Yeah. Westchester's an interesting place to grow up because it really is people that. Like if you're from Queens and you make money, you move to Long Island. If you're from the Bronx and you make money, you move out to Westchester. So we got all these Italians. You go to any town in Westchester, you're going to get good pizza. You're going to get good Italian restaurants. Yep. It's like culturally, it's still like it's like the Bronx in a lot of ways, but you got some space.
Did you meet your wife in Westchester in New York or no?
No, she's from the Upper West Side, and I met her at the Friars Club in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we met and felt like literally love at first sight. Told her friend that introduced us, I said, I'm going to marry your friend someday. And then 3 years later, I took her back to the Friars Club and I proposed in the Milton Berle room.
Wow. Yeah. That's epic, dude. Dude, that's so crazy because 4 years before I started dating my wife, she was with somebody and I was with somebody and we were at a bar and I go, I'm going to marry you someday. You're the woman I'm going to marry.
Shit, really?
You're the woman I'm going to marry. And she just looked at me like, what? And I moved to Queens and she moved to Jersey City and I would try dating her, but she just wanted to go out as friends.
Yeah.
And, she loved Disney. She loved all the Disney movies growing up. My wife loves Harry Potter, Disney. So I would take her to these movies. We would go and she was just kind of just want to be friends.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got sick of that, I said to my older brother that night, I go, dude, you know what? I keep trying. I think I'm done. And I'll never forget. My older brother goes, yeah, dude, it's her loss. Like, you just need. Yeah. Meanwhile, it probably wasn't, but my brother was just being a brother.
Right.
And he goes, dude, if you're in that thing and she just doesn't want to, it's just go on. And then as soon as I actually relieved myself of that mentally, I got a text from her, miss you. And I was like, okay.
There you go.
And then, yeah. And here's the other crazy thing. I knew her throughout my life because the girl I dated throughout high school was her best friend. And she went to a rival high school.
No shit. What high school?
So I went to John Jay High School in Hopewell Junction, New York. So we moved up to the Fishkill area, Dutchess County.
Yeah, right.
For the high school years. My mother and stepfather wanted to get their house. They bought a ranch up there. Really tough move for me. It was one of the hardest parts of my life.
Yeah.
To leave Westchester and that White Plains area and all that stuff. And I had friends and I was playing and they're like, oh, we can get this house up. It's a little north. It was brutal. But I start dating.
Why, it was just boring?
Yeah, we moved up around 93, dude. And it was just like, you went from being able to like almost walk to a mall or a 5-minute car ride and everybody knew each other, a small community, to now like Route 9 was like desolate. I saw cows on the way to school. I started crying and shit. It was really fucked up, man.
Right.
And my mother felt so bad, but they were like, we have an opportunity to get a house and have a life. And it's like really tough for a kid like 8th, 9th grade. So I'm dating this girl throughout high school. And as I would date her, she would say, oh, because there were 2 high schools and it was such a big thing. It was 2 high schools, 2 middle schools.
Right. The
girl I dated in high school, her best friend was this girl, Stacy, at the other high school. But I didn't know. I would just hear the name.
What was the other high school called?
The other high school was Ketchum.
Okay.
John Jay and Ketchum. And I would say, oh, your friend Stacy. And then I never heard, then that's it. I break up with the girl. Then I start working as a busboy at Applebee's. And I end up becoming friends and hanging out with the manager there. And guess who her best friend is? Her best friend went to the other high school and was best friends with who's now my wife. So she just kept popping in my life, dude.
Wow.
And then when I moved to Queens, she moved to Jersey City. And like I said, it was a friend thing for a while. And then we ended up dating. So it was almost like she just kept coming in my life, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And did you shoot your other special at the Tarrytown Music Hall?
I did.
Oh, because that's where I shot my last special.
Oh, so yeah, it's great.
I grew up in Tarrytown.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So that music hall, when I was a kid, that music hall was a movie theater, and it was completely dilapidated. I mean, paint peeling off the walls, balcony was closed off. You couldn't even go up there. And then when I was about 13 or 14, there was a fire. And that theater was built in like the 1880s.
Yes.
And so there was a fire, and because it was a historic site, they got all this funding to rebuild it. And and the condition it's in now, it's fucking beautiful. They shot what was that Steve Buscemi show that was on HBO about Atlantic City?
Oh, Boardwalk Empire?
Boardwalk Empire shot there. a couple times.
Wow.
Yeah. And but that's a tough thing. If I could do it again, I did it for sentimental reasons because I wanted to shoot it in my hometown. But if I could do it over again, I would shoot in a much smaller place. My next special is going to be in a club because you're more used to playing theaters because you go out on the road with people and, you know how to like project in a theater. And I think you're a more physical act than I am. But I felt small in that theater. There was weird. The one thing that was weird about that theater for me was, and it was my first special, so I didn't realize the lighting. So every time that I would come out to a big show, or if I opened for somebody or whatever at a big show, it would be dark. Yeah. And now I come out at the Terrytown first show, 8:00 show of my special, and I see faces in the balcony because I guess they said for the special. But what was crazy was the air conditioning had to be turned off because it was such an old building that if it was on, it would be loud. And I'm not a big sweater on stage. Yeah. And dude, by the middle of my first act, I'm like pouring sweat. Luckily there was a towel and I'm going. So then they actually said, we need to crank it up and then close it right before he gets on. Right. Because so that was part of it being old, which hurt me in a way. Yeah. But I decided to do levity. I go, where can it feel like a club, but also look a little bit like what I don't like is I don't like how every special now, or a lot of specials now, guys are doing it at like venues like the Cellar that are I get it, but is there a way we both? I was like, can we kind of get an intimate feel, but have it be, and I do move around. I stay, I always like kind of stalk the stage and always move and stuff. So I wanted something where I would feel comfortable and not confined, but still have both feel. And that's what I got. Yeah, that was a good pick. That it looked really good there. It felt like a good size. And I know that room, it does feel like a small theater. It's a good size room. And it's got that the seating goes up as you go back. Yes. And so it's built like a theater almost. And that first one was produced by Bill Burr and Pete Davidson.
Yeah, so All Things Comedy, I was supposed to do it. This is a whole other story. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I was supposed to do it with a company called Comedy Dynamics. Sure. And that, for whatever reason, things happened last minute, and it looked like it wasn't going to happen. And I pulled out 6 days before. 6 days before taping in Brooklyn, I pulled out. I said, this isn't right. And then All Things Comedy, Al Madrigal actually said, All Things Comedy is looking to do specials, so let's get on a call. Yeah. And Pete Davidson and Bill were like, dude, we're all trying to do this for the first one for All Things Comedy ever. And since this fell apart, let's turn this into something. So we ended up doing it. And then that's why Pete directed this one, because Pete Davidson
directed it?
Pete directed the one that used the new one, because Pete and I were very cool. Pete did my podcast, The Virzi Effect, when he was 18. We always stayed cool. And one day we're smoking a cigar and he goes, hey man, I'd love to direct your special. And I thought he was going to do it on the first one. Yeah. But since All Things Comedy kind of saw what happened with my situation and they wanted to come in, Pete was like, oh, I'll just stay on as this. But then when we did this one, Pete's like, hey man, he goes, I'd love to do this. And, Pete saw me when he was really young and I became a guy that he really liked. Yeah. So it was really cool. Him and Troy Miller. Do you know Troy Miller?
Yeah, sure. From HBO.
So Troy Miller came in and Troy and Pete kind of did like a Troy sat second Pete, because it was Pete's first thing. And it was great. And they did make levity look great.
Yeah, Troy Miller did a ton of. He did Mr. Show. He did like some of the classic HBO shows over the years.
When Troy Miller said to me after my first taping, he goes, "Dude, you could go home right now," and I was just like, coming from you, like that's what people don't understand about us. It's that, or I don't want to speak for you, but myself. It's like even me coming on your show. And I know who you are and what you've done and how long you've been in this business and how funny you are. And it's like you come on and a guy like you says something like, hey, dude, I watched your special and I really liked it. And I like people don't understand that is a Troy Miller, a guy that directed every Brian Regan special. That's more important than some dude who was like, yeah, I started watching comedy. You're funny. You know what I mean? And not to disrespect the audience, but like we've been in it for a long time.
Right,
that makes
Yeah. And it is hard to stand out with a special. There are so many specials these days. And, you know, the truth is, an hour is a long time. And if you haven't been doing comedy hard on the road for a while, some people come out and, you know, they get hot from being on a TV show or whatever. And all of a sudden they get a 1 hour special and
100%.
Man, it feels thin. And it's like, just do a 30-minute special. Not everybody's meant to do an hour.
I literally, I couldn't agree more. And I feel like, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm throwing anybody under the bus, but I feel like there's a laziness now. There's a laziness because of podcasts. There's a laziness because of not being on the road that much because of COVID, where it's like, then just don't put it out or call it your half-hour special or call it like, you know, but for me, I grew up an hour special to me was somebody that came on stage and for 60 plus minutes, just boom, boom, did that. And that's what an hour special was. And that's what made it special, I think.
Right. Yeah. And because, and not to knock a half-hour special. I know Comedy Central did, is it Comedy Central that does, or is it Netflix that does those like 30-minute, this series of like 6 different people do 30 minutes?
Yeah, so it started. HBO used to do it, and then now Netflix does it, called like the stand-ups.
Yeah, and that's such a great showcase. And I found comics on there that I didn't know about before, and I think a lot of people have found them. And I think that for your first special, that's a better way to come out. It's like, remember Rodney Dangerfield bringing out Andrew Dice Clay for 30 minutes, and it was like, holy shit. Sam Kinison for 30 minutes. That's the way you want to explode on the scene.
Yeah, dude. I remember watching that first HBO special. He had John Fox, rest his soul. He had Bob Saget. He had Dom Herrera. Doing small, big Petey, little Petey, irregular Petey, like all of that stuff. And think about the people that Rodney, Roseanne Barr, Sandra Bernhardt, all those people. Rodney would just see young guy. Robert Schimmel, rest his soul. It's crazy.
Yeah. You know who you remind me of on your special is, and you should take this as very high praise, is the great Rich Jenny. I don't know if you ever heard that.
I've heard that many times, and a lot of people tell me, like one time, one guy goes, "Can you call in the radio as Rich Jenny?" It was like after he died. I was like, no, but I've heard that before.
Yeah. He put out a lot of specials. I think he did one a year. He was a Showtime guy. Everybody else was on HBO, and he was the one guy that was putting out specials on Showtime every year. He was a fucking craftsman. That guy put together a set that was like, I mean, to talk about being physical. His hand, if his hand was like this on this joke one night, that's how it was the next night. He had worked out every fucking detail of his presentation. He was just I think it almost came from like those guys that used to do the Borscht Belt who had an act and they just worked on it for years and years and years. And he had that level of showmanship.
Yeah, I love watching that because you can tell how it was worked out so long and so hard. And like when you just said, like, make sure his hand is here. I love to do, when I do a joke and I do it a certain way, I want the microphone in the hand and that same way all the time.
Yeah, right,
because
right.
As soon as you change it, and there have been times where I would go to a different side of the stage and do the same joke and I'd be like, this doesn't feel right.
Right. Yeah. Know? Your body, like your memory it's not just a joke, it's your body. And I'm not even conscious of it, but then I'll look at a videotape and I'll realize, oh yeah, I walk to my right on that line every time. And I step towards the audience on this punchline every time. So where do you live now? You live in Westchester now?
Yeah, I live in northern Westchester. County, horse country up here.
My sister's up in Cortland Manor. You anywhere near there? Like,
okay, yeah, probably like 15, 20 minutes from there.
Yeah. It's nice up there. It's getting more crowded. When I was a kid, it was nothing but horse country. And now there's a lot more developments.
Yeah. And like, dude, I go to the city and I'm like, fuck this. Yeah. I'm done. Like, I love being away. We have a decent plot of land. Yeah. We have like an acre and a quarter, but like it's all flat. It's all usable. Uh-huh. And we just sit outside, man. We're like 800 feet elevated. We watch the sunset behind the mountains. And the older I get, dude, I'm getting old mentally. Like, dude, you know what I said the other day? I go to this cafe which is not far. It's on the border of Connecticut. This guy just goes, I want to put this into an act or like things that you say. Cause everybody, when they talk about getting older, they talk about, oh, my knee, or I woke up with pain, but I'm saying shit that like a 65, 70, this guy goes, hey, Paul, how you doing? I just go, hey man, if I was doing any better, I'd be you. And I pointed. And like, I literally loved saying it. Like I loved saying it. And then he just goes, and I saw him go, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, you get to a certain age and you got to have that. There was a guy named Artie Tarracone, and he owned gas stations in Westchester and Yonkers. And he belonged to that country club. And he'd pull up in his car, and I'd open the door, and he'd step out, and I'd go, how's it going, Mr. Tarracone? And this guy was worth millions. And he'd go, tips and all, I can't complain. Fucking loved it. And you could count on it every time.
Dude, do you play golf at all?
Yeah, a lot.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we got to play. We got to play. I love playing golf. Dude, the older guys in golf, there's nothing better than playing golf with a 70, 75-year-old man who just has all of the zingers and everything in the book. Yeah. I remember I hit this ball. It was like a short par 4. And I hit this ball. And as I hit it, it started out, it was weird. Like it started out low, like 3 feet off the ground. And then all of a sudden just shot up and started looking nice. And I look, and this guy, he just goes, this old man, he just goes, because it's the mother-in-law shot. I go, what? He goes, yeah, it's the mother-in-law shot. The further away it gets, the better it is. And I was literally like in my 20s. I was in my 20s, and I'm like, that's incredible. It was just like that.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to caddy too. I caddied for like 4 years. And I had this one guy, Henry Connors, and he was, I don't know that the club allowed Jewish people. There was definitely no black people. And I think he was Jewish, but snuck in somehow. So there was something about him that was always like, he was always kind of laughing at everybody like, you fucking idiots, I'm Jewish. And so, but he would finish every round. He was the worst golfer, and he was a ball buster, and I fucking loved him. And so at the end of every round, he would take the money and he would pretend to spit on it, and he'd throw it on the ground, and then he'd step on it with his foot, and then he'd walk away.
That's great. So I caddied at a club for only one summer, couple of months. So my buddy that I went to high school,
was it?
It was Old Oaks in SUNY Purchase.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's all
around that area.
All Jewish. You have to be. It's a Jewish club.
Yeah.
Now, my buddy who I went to high school with got a ride to Villanova to play golf, and he was the pro there. So he goes, dude, he's like, he was the understudy, eventually getting the job. But he goes, why don't you come and caddy? You know, come for the summer, you'll make some money. So I went there, and I would always caddy for this guy, Palmer, and he would always have friends, and they were all old. And one guy was blind. His name was Lenny, and he was swinging at mushrooms and shit, like legally blind. He was like legally blind. So like his brother would be like, no, Len, you got it. It's the ball's over there. This guy was swinging at mushrooms and shit.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you something. I don't know if it happens at all clubs or just Jewish clubs, but the gimmies that these guys were taking. I mean, these guys were taking 5-6 footers.
Right.
Pick it up.
Yeah.
This one guy would swing, and whenever he was bad, he would just go, my back, like drop the club. Then he would swing good. He'd be like, all right, now it's getting so funny, dude. It was like big kids. It was like big kids.
Yeah. And I was, the caddy master didn't like me because I was drinking my face off. So like I was supposed to be there at 6:45 every day, and I would come in at like 9:15, and I would ride my bike from Tarrytown to White Plains. So it was 7 miles. I get on my bike, I'd ride 7 miles hungover, and I would get to the caddy yard. I'd stop at Twin Donuts. I'd get an egg and cheese with ham, salt and pepper, and a large coffee, light and sweet. And I'd sit in that caddy yard at 9:15, and he would just let me sit there until like 11:30. And then he'd give me the shittiest loop, like the worst tippers. And so he gave me this guy, Mr. Angelilli. And the guy was just an asshole. Just everything you did, he fucking criticized you. And so then finally on the 7th hole, he hits a ball out of bounds, like deep in the woods. And he comes out and he goes, where's my ball? And I go, I don't know. You hit it. And he just looked at me, and I just dropped his bag, and I walked off the course. I just walked off. And I
Wow.
was like, and I got in, and by the time I got in, it was like Caddyshack, how everybody would fucking gossip. And by the time I got into the course, the caddy master already knew what I had done. And I got in, and he laughed his ass off. He's like, I can't believe you lasted that long with that fucking guy, Angelilli.
Oh, you didn't get fired.
I didn't get fired because the guy was such an asshole.
I bombed one time, but it was my friend's fault. He goes, "Oh, you're going out with this guy," and he says the name. I forgot the name, and I go, "How is he?" And he goes, "He's the fucking best." So now, when you hear that, you're like, "Oh, dude, this is gonna be." He was quiet. He was like whispering the things that he was unhappy with me about to his friends. Yeah. Then they're lining up to putt. And by accident, I let the bag fall. So like all the things rattled and they stopped and looked up and they're like whispering. I just wanted it to be over, dude. Yeah. It was just one of those where it was just like, I didn't love it anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig. It's and on a hot day, I mean, a golf course, they say walking a golf course is about 7 miles. So I would ride my bike 7 miles. Then I would put 2 bags on my shoulders and walks. And the course I worked at was fucking hilly. 7 miles of hills with the bag. And then I get back on the bike and ride 7 miles home. And then, you know, I'm 15. I'd go out drinking all night, get home at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, do it all over again.
What course was it?
Knollwood.
Okay. You know what I loved about the story was you were so specific about everything that you got at the deli.
Yeah,
you got because you want to know why? Because that was a piece. I've learned that there's a peace moment in your life where there was a place here. It was actually a barbecue place, but they were a deli too. And it was the first place I ever had brisket and eggs together.
Oh, nice.
And they would have the Daily News or the Post. So I could always read about the Yankees or Knicks. Yeah. I would get my iced tea or my sandwich, whatever, my coffee. And then it went out of business because of COVID.
Yeah.
And it meant a lot, dude. Like I was like, that was like, because it was my piece.
Yeah.
And having that is amazing, you know?
Right. Those little things you can count on. You know, I remember in college, I would every morning there was a deli next to my apartment. And every morning I get out and I'd get a blueberry muffin and a coffee. And it's just like the day. And then, like you said, it closed one day and I was just fucking lost. Like, what am I going to do now?
Every time my wife calls me during those moments, I just go, of course, you know?
And that's I'm like you, I have depression and those things keep me sane. You know, you talked about it in your last special. You didn't talk about it in this one at all, but you get bad depression sometimes.
It's weird. The anxiety is always more than the depression. Okay. The depression comes in luckily, thank God, very small bouts where I can but the anxiety, I read a quote that was brutal. It said, if you have depression, you don't care about anything. If you have anxiety, you overly care about everything. And if you have both, you're in hell. Yeah. And luckily I would have to say that the depression bout I had in 2016, those 90 days, this was like some clinical, it was and only people that understand depression understand, like, going from a bedroom to the kitchen to get a glass of water felt like the most immense task. Yeah. It was like I remember my mother handed me a sandwich and I was just like, you're saving my life. Like it was just the thought of like putting peanut butter on a thing was just so much I was in this thing. So luckily that happens very little and not as much, but anxious, OCD, you know, a lot of things. And I realized something, Greg, I actually never told this on a podcast before, but I remember talking to my mother about it. The first straight up panic anxiety attack that I had, I was on the couch in 3rd grade. I was in 3rd grade.
No shit.
And it all hit me and I'm looking around and I didn't know, like, cause my brain wasn't developed yet. I'm a little kid. So my body I was looking around to go somewhere to do something because it was so intense. And my mother was like, and I was like, I'm having and I was like explaining to her, but because she has it and because it's in our family and stuff,
it runs in the family.
She was able to say what you're having is anxiety. What anxiety is it can't kill you. But I was young and that was kind of when the divorce was really bad. So I guess it stemmed or the OCD because they noticed that I would walk around this little pillar that went to the kitchen. But all I needed to do was walk from the living room into the kitchen.
Yeah.
But I would walk around the column.
Right.
And they were like, and so my mother and stepfather would be like, why is he walking around the column? Because it kind of doesn't make sense. That was all when it started to happen. And it took me to get a little older to put the pieces together.
So are there things you do in your life today to sort of contend with the anxiety and the OCD? Are there like regimens that you're doing?
I think when I got, like, I would say maybe a few years, maybe more than that, 8 to 10 years ago, I kind of just really just said to myself, like, even though I knew it younger, I have a very good understanding of it. So I just tell myself now, I go, look, you got things to do like this. I'm really able to take it and put it in its own category and kind of move forward, where before I would be like really stuck in it. Right. And I would be sitting there and I would have to always try to, have like a redo thought. You know what that is, right? The redo thought. Yeah. For anybody listening, you have OCD, you have a really horrible, fucking terrible thought that makes you really uncomfortable. So then what you would do is to mentally to erase that. And you're not a crazy person or a bad person. You don't want to harm that person because you love them. Why would you think that? So what you do is you'll think of something nice and what it's called to undo the first horrible thing. Right. Where now I'm able to go, dude, that's your stupid mind. Like go. And it was like really kind of like it helped me, but it took a long time to learn that. It's interesting because I've gone to therapy on and off throughout my life. And, what was considered the standard route of therapy used to be like Freudian, analytical, like talk about your childhood. And which isn't to say there's not merit to that, because obviously, like you just touched on, your anxiety started with your parents' divorce. Like you do need to recognize those things. But what you see today is much more cognitive therapy, which is seeing your thoughts, recognizing that they're not valid, and then being able to just put them aside. And whether you replace them or whether you just take the air out of them by recognizing that there's a pattern here, that, I'm having this thought that nothing ever goes right. And then you just have to stop and go, wait a minute, get a piece of paper and write down some things that have gone right. And then you can stop saying nothing ever goes right. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing that you could kind of be your own. I read something online when I was 26 years old of exactly what I had. And I searched it and I said, like, completely irrational, crazy thoughts of like harming and doing this and people that you love. And I kind of read this thing, and it was about it was from a doctor who was the #1 OCD doctor in the United States of America. And she's in Boston, Massachusetts. And as I was reading it, I started to tear up. It was the first time that I actually read something where I was like, holy shit, this is it. Like this is me. This is everything I've been going through. And I actually wrote the lady. And I said, and I even told her, I was like, I'm a comedian from New York. I said, I deal with this. Whatever you wrote, thank you, wherever this is from. I said, I would love to talk to you. And she actually called and we talked, and she goes, listen, she goes, no shit. Yeah. Wow. I forgot her name, but she said, it's a 6-month wait to see me. She goes, if you're ever in town, call me. But I started telling her, and she did say these words to me, which made me feel good. She goes, wow. She goes, you're 26 at such a young age. You have such a very good understanding, but it's because I've been dealing with it since I was in 3rd grade. Right. So by the time I got into my 30s, I was like, fuck this, dude. I'm putting this, and in a weird way. So what was it that resonated? What did she describe that you related to? That in your mind you feel. In other words, it was basically saying that I'm so not going to do the things that I'm afraid of. I'm more not going to do it than somebody that I'm more not going to do it. Yeah. Because I remember this one woman one time was OCD thing on Oprah, and she was the sweetest blonde. She was probably in her 20s, the sweetest you'll ever see. And she's like, I can't hold and babysit my sweet niece who I love so much because my OCD is saying, would you hurt it? And I would never hurt. She's breaking down crying. She's more prone to not do it than somebody who doesn't have the disorder. Yeah. I remember hearing a therapist once say to a patient, I can't remember what the context was, but it was the same thing, that they were having negative thoughts. I don't know if it was suicide or whatever. And the therapist said, okay, go ahead and do it. And whether it's hurting your niece or whatever,
if you make yourself try to do it, you realize, oh, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. That was just a thought.
Yeah. And there's something called cognitive behavior therapy, where what they'll do is if you put your phone down, and right when you put your phone down, you go, I'm like, I could fucking, I could go to that gas station and shoot that guy right now. Right.
Yeah.
And when I was bad, I would come back and I'd put the phone down and go, I would never do that. And then I could walk away. Cognitive behavior therapy is actually think the bad thing, put it down and walk away and stay, because the more you do it, the more you can just live in it.
Right.
Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make your brain go backwards and fix it. It never will, because the disease is really clever. It knows. So then the second time you go back, sometimes it could be even 3 times worse. And now you're stuck there.
Right.
It's really an amazing thing, but I've learned to deal with it, and I've learned to just say that's not true, and I'm not going to put myself, dude, I'd be on the road in like fucking somewhere, and I would have a thought, and then I would just sit on the bed before my set. And the closer I would get to a set, when I was younger and I really needed to prove myself to the club. So I would have all kinds of OCD thoughts and things like that. And then finally I remember Kentucky, like, oh, I'm getting better. So it's really fucking,
Well, it's
wild,
tough
man.
when you're a comic, because I don't know a comic that doesn't have anxiety. And I mean, you should check out some of the stuff that Maria Bamford's done about, she had destructive thoughts. Like, she used to have like really fucking horrific thoughts about sexual things, about people that were inappropriate and killing people. And she talks about it, and she actually makes it funny, but it is very difficult, because what we do is very fucking stressful. I mean, it's most people's worst nightmare. Public speaking is the number one fear that people have. And we do it every fucking night. And you take it for granted. It's like, I've been doing it for 31 years and I still get nervous every fucking time. And I didn't even realize until recently that I just always sublimated it, sucked it up, went on and performed. And it wasn't until I started going, oh, you're nervous, that I could go, okay, you're nervous and you're going to do it. Not you have to stop being nervous, but just that you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because like when you get nervous, but we're going to do it. And I talked to this one comic, Mike Merrifield, this kid in Wisconsin. He goes, we forget what we do. We forget that what we do is so nuts to the other. And here's the other thing, Greg, how many of us do it? How many, I said, I was talking to Giannis Pappas, you know Giannis, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to Giannis and I go, how many of you think really do it at the level we do it? I go, what do you think? Like 2,000? And he goes, way less. And I was like, what do you think the number is of national headliners traveling, making a decent living, doing that? I'm thinking it's gotta be low, right?
Oh, it's probably a few hundred.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and internationally, and you think that, and we're talking about the whole world. There's probably, you've got Australia, you've got the UK, and I don't know any other areas that have comedy. So you're talking about the worldwide. There's not even that many comedians. It's fucking crazy.
We're like race car drivers.
but right. I know. And but it is growing. And actually this leads us into our new segment. This is the first show. I thought of this segment 20 minutes before we started this podcast. And I emailed your publicist and my publicist, Michael O'Brien, who's the greatest dude going.
Oh my God. I mean, dude, if you don't like that guy, it's you. Period.
He's the greatest human being. And I hope he listens to the podcast. We're sending him lots of love. So I texted him. I said, because I didn't have your email. I said, ask Paul if he'll do this new segment with me. And it's called Promising Premises.
Yep.
And what we do here is we're each going to give 2 premises, and then we're going to try to work on them together so that we have a bit. And maybe, I don't know, I'm actually just thinking of this now as I say it. And then maybe we each do the bit on stage, audio tape it, and you send it to me, and I play it on the next podcast.
Okay, if it works out schedule wise, yeah.
All right. I know you didn't sign up for this. This is a lot. You thought you were just going to do a fucking Zoom call, and I'm giving you homework. So I asked you to come with a couple premises. Give me a premise and let's work on it.
All right. So one thing I'm working on is, and I have the beginning of it, but it could maybe go longer, where I got a 13-year-old son and his friends come over, but I didn't realize, like, when I'm the dad on call with the friend, like, I'm responsible for that kid's life. Right. So the mother comes over and she was just like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for taking Nathan. This is great." She's like, "Here's his medicine." I'm like, "Medicine?" And dude, she handed me, I swear to God, Greg, she handed me a fucking Ziploc bag, because I guess he's got some medical condition, with like a miniature hospital in it, like everything. Like there were literally syringes and pills. And then she goes, "He's never going to need it." Listen to me. She goes, "He's never going to need it." Okay. He hasn't needed it in 8 years. And then so what the joke is, I go, "But then it's always something bad." And where I tried to punch it up, and I'm still working on it, is where she goes, "But if he does need it, you're going to have to do open heart surgery right then and there," you know? And kind of, that's kind of where it ended. And I was playing with it, but that's something I just played with. And it was really hitting for as early as it was.
Yeah. It's like all of a sudden you're John Travolta in Pulp Fiction and the kid's laying on the ground frothing at the mouth. You got the fucking needle.
That's yeah. It's like, cause that takes it to another level of like being the entourage, like being not the entourage, being the guy that's going to take the kids around, the whatever you want to call it.
The chaperone.
That's the word.
Yeah.
The chaperone. I'm going to take the kids to the movies. Now I'm looking at this kid, what he's eating. Right. Like, can I go to the bathroom? Is this kid going to foam at the mouth? Like all that shit.
Yeah. And that's like a mom dropping off her son and going, "By the way, the mafia put a hit out on him. So here's a gun. Just keep an eye on anything unusual." I didn't sign up for this shit. I thought I was going to buy him cotton candy and maybe a beer. Maybe give him his first beer.
The funny thing is, it's like my wife, his mother, the kid's mother, is good friends with my wife. So I said, "Stace," I came up with this joke. I go, "You might want to tell," and she just goes, "Oh, she won't care." So like, I'm just gonna have to change the name. But dude, this thing is it's bigger than a first aid kit. And it's just like, here's everything, and it rattles around and stuff. So that was one where I was just like, all right, this has got to be something.
Why is there a scalpel in here? That seems like more than first aid.
What you got? Do you have one?
Yeah, I want to talk about Father's Day is coming up next week, or this week, actually. Yes. Big day for us.
Sunday, yeah.
So I was thinking, Father's Day is such a great day if you don't have a deadbeat dad. If you have a deadbeat dad, it's like taking a wound and pouring salt in it. Like every other father and son is like playing football in the street, they're fishing, they're going to the movies, and you're just smoking pot and watching The Outsiders again, Yeah.
It's like when a song comes on when you're thinking of the girl you broke up with, and it's perfect. But with this, it's like the movie of the other movie with the father-son relationship. That's just horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right. It's like, I was trying to think of like what other holidays would be tough on people. Like it's like Thanksgiving for Native Americans.
Yeah. Yes.
Or what's another holiday like?
I'm trying to think of like people with getting gifts and like walking in front of homeless, or like it's just something that's like something that is just it hits home, because the worst thing is like if you watch a commercial for Father's Day, or like when you're watching the NBA finals and then the players are like, "My dad was always," the guy's crying, he was at every game from like you're just sitting home,
you're alone. Yeah. It is alone.
Yeah, that's actually really funny, dude.
Yeah, well, I figure I got to get it in shape because it's got a shelf life. I can't do it for much longer than the next week.
What movie has like the worst father-son relationship?
Oh,
there's got to be a movie where it's just like the guy just comes in, like either beats the shit, never there, and like that's what the person's watching. I don't know.
What was the one where the guy was a drill instructor? It was from like 50 years ago.
Wasn't drill instructor.
He was like really hard on his kid. He treated his kid like he was a soldier.
Oh, I think I know. Hold on. I don't know the name. I think I know what you're talking about. Oh, the one that was good too was Tim McGraw was the drunk father in Varsity Blues.
Oh, yeah.
And he's
Varsity
just
Blues.
Yeah,
that's good.
Because he sucked and he made a mistake in 10th grade football game. And he's his feet are up and he's talking about when he played for that coach in fucking 10th grade.
Right.
Oh, that's so funny.
Varsity Blues. All right. What's another premise?
I did this joke about how Italians always say, why don't we do, and I'm a victim. I do this too, where I got mad that there were no Italian wizards in Harry Potter. I got mad that there were no Italians in Star Wars. We get discriminated on and nobody cares because when we are cast in something, it's a tough guy thing.
Yeah.
So everybody's telling us, go fuck yourself with your, what are you going to play?
Yeah.
So I said an Italian kid would say something how come there's no fucking Italian astronauts? How come they don't send us to the moon? And then I actually did. Could you imagine if two fat Italians got to the moon? And I do the walk where I'm just and I'm doing the whole thing. And then I just out of nowhere, I just go, Vito, I'm starving. and it gets a good laugh. But again, that's something that can just keep needs more.
Right. He would. The first words on the moon would be one small step for man. How many fucking steps to get to the deli up here? What's going on?
Or what's even funny? A fat Italian. What's even funny is how many steps are there? We're on the moon. Why are there steps?
Yeah. Hey, this is great up here. Apparently up here I only weigh 57 pounds.
Oh my God, that's great. Oh my God, that's fucking great, dude.
Italians on the moon.
So Italians on the moon, dude, just walking up there, I see you guys sweating through the dome.
Yeah.
He's just sweating, he's starving.
They had to do 3 different liftoffs because they weighed so much. They kept failing at liftoff.
That's great. What's your second one?
My second one is actually what we were just starting to talk about, that there's actually more and more comedians. I feel like there's too many people that are trying to do comedy these days because there's no bar of entry. It's just anybody can just say, some guy who did 2 open mics is the same as me. We're both comedians. There's no senior vice president.
And here's what's crazier. He could have a bigger following because he did something on TikTok,
right? Yeah.
Or he did something on YouTube, and you've been slugging it out for 30 fucking years,
right? And so I think we need more stakes. I think we have to go back to court jester, because that was the first comedian. And if you were the court jester and you bombed, you got your head cut off. We need stakes. There has to be open mics with maybe a guy with a gun in the back.
Oh, that's so because that'll really let people you're not going to get up there unless you have some chops.
Right. I get it. You're a real estate agent. Everybody tells you you're funny and you should try it. Maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. You and your daughter danced on TikTok and it got 1 million views. And now you're selling out Gotham.
Yeah.
And I'm hiring a marketing team. It really, but that really is happening, which is crazy. It's that there's people that have started doing what we do during pandemic because they were able to, whatever they did, they found a niche being home for 2 years to get 2 million followers.
Right.
And now they're taking dates.
Yep.
And it's almost I can't knock the hustle or them feeding their families. But at the same time, it's I love your premise. There's got to be, there has to be a level.
Yeah.
The stakes got to be higher.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think maybe it's the same for lawyers. If you represent somebody and you lose the case and they go to jail, you should have to go to jail for a certain period of time also.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're a divorce lawyer and your client loses, you should have to pay some of the alimony as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you get to go? Yeah. Why do you get to lose and fail in court and watch your client get dragged off to jail and you get back in your fucking Lincoln and then you pour a drink in. That didn't go well.
Yeah, right. They should come over and put you both in orange jumpsuits. You don't have to stay as long as him, but you got to do 1/10 of whatever his time is.
There has to be a penalty. I love that. That's
all right. Before we go, I'm going to just ask you one question that I like to ask all my comedy guests, which is, have you ever not finished a set on stage?
Yes, I have. It was the one only time it ever happened. I think about it sometimes and I'm like, what could I have done? And I realized that there was nothing I could do at that time, in that moment. So what it was I did these awful gigs for somebody that, it would be like go out like and I was working with the great late Carl LeBeau, rest his soul, and we did this like wedding hall, and it was all police officers and their wives. And it was amazing. And I was killing and it was great. And I finished. And then he goes up. So now that booker goes, hey, I got another one. It's going to be firemen and cops, no wives. It's just going to be a bunch of firemen, cops, beers. Go up there. It's like comedy, boot camp, whatever. And I'm like, same money. Me and Carl had a good time. So I go with Carl. A couple comedians go. Then it's supposed to be me and then Carl. I go up. Microphone system was bad. I tried something. Didn't work. They're being rowdy and talkative. Then one guy just goes, "Oh, is this the fucking Gong Show?" Right? And I'm like, I'm just like, what? So then it was okay. And then I just start unloading all of my good bullets. Right? I'm like, this will get him. And it was this will get him. Now. All of the closers are gone. Yeah. The A jokes are gone. Right. The microphone is bad. Now they're talking and I'm getting into it with this guy. And I just didn't have the chops at the time. Yeah. To really be able to, and I always thought back, this guy was fat. Yeah. Right. So I could have been like, well, you couldn't fucking rescue a cat from a tree. I've thought of all of these things. All of these things later. And I remember just going, all right, you know what? For guys that wanted to, see a real comedy show, I'm sorry, everybody. And I got off 15 minutes early, dude. I bailed. Yeah. I bailed, dude. And I walked outside and the booker was like, hey, man, you got to understand it's not personal. It's like comedy boot camp. And I just remember being like, yeah, thanks. But it bothered me. Yeah, of course. And what really bothered me was there was like a statue of the boxer Joe Louis outside the venue. And I just remember being like, you fucking pussy, Yeah. It bugged me, but I also what I did was I took it as it's such a really smart, great question, by the way, to end a podcast. I don't even know why because it's something that happened once. I said it would only happen once in my career. Yeah. I always look at in your career, have a once. Yeah. Right. If it's just once, it's okay. Don't make it happen. It's funny
you say that because most people I ask have once and I have once. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a once thing. But I learned from it. I'm like, all right, you know what? You let that guy say something and then it made you use all of your other jokes so all of the things. And I just said, okay, I took it as a learning experience. It was the one time. And now what I'll do, and I don't know if this is a subconscious thing, but if I have a set where it's a fight, I'll stay on longer. Yeah. Instead of wanting the light and wanting to leave, the defiance in me is like, no, we're going to keep this thing going. I'm going to keep you here. Yeah.
Right. That's good. Well, also in your defense, they are fucking cops. It was a bunch of tough guys. It wasn't like
it was cops and firemen, and the sound system was really bad, and there was nobody policing the room. Right. And when I mean nobody policing the room, there wouldn't even have been a place for somebody to police. So it was just this horrible thing, and I couldn't really make fun of the sound too much because the guy was like one of those don't make fun of the venue. It was just a weird. But here's the deal: I got paid $150, and I remember my manager at the time, Tony Camacho. And he did call me and he goes, I'm sorry. He goes, you shouldn't have even been in that situation. He's like, you shouldn't have been in that situation. So he was nice, but that's one that I'll always be like, oh man, the one time I bailed a little early, I bailed early on a set was that time.
Tony Camacho booked me on this gig one time. It was a country club gig in New Jersey. And he picked me up in the city, and he drove. I don't know why. We were good friends. He just he would book me on gigs and he'd come with me, and we would just have a blast. So we drive out to New Jersey, and this is before there was cell phones with maps on them. So we're trying to find this country club. We're lost. And so we pull over on the side of the road. It's like a quiet road. And there's this couple that's taking a walk, and they're white, and Tony Camacho's black. And he rolls down the window and he goes, what? And the name of the venue was the White Beaches. And he rolls down the window and he says to these two people, he goes, excuse me, where are the White Beaches at? And we laughed so hard, we didn't even get an answer. We just started fucking cracking up, and I drove away.
Oh, that's so. Wait, was he your first manager too?
No, he just used to book me on stuff.
Oh, that's great. That's fucking
amazing.
great, man.
All right, listen, Paul Virzi, if you want to go see him, he's going to be performing on June 17th at the Stand. He'll also be there on the 22nd. June 30th through July 2nd, he'll be at the American Comedy Company in San Diego. Zanies in Chicago, in Rosemont, July 22nd through the 23rd. Also coming to Howard City, Michigan in July. Go to Paul Virzi, VIRZI.com, or just guineawap.net. And you can find him and check him out. He's a great comic. You'll love
that was the first website. Yeah, and check out the special, man, June 23rd on Netflix. I appreciate you watching it too, buddy. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. It was great to be here. Hope to bump into you in the city soon.
Yeah, let's play some golf one day. Let's get out there.
When you come to New York, let's play golf.
All right, sounds good.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Take care, man. See ya.
Bye.